What's up, guys? We're about to get into it, man. Blind buying fragrances. Listen, a lot of times people, when they talk about this subject, they say, well, I don't recommend blind buys, all this different stuff. Try before you buy. It's cool. Now, recommending blind buys or whatever the case may be, whether you recommend it or not, I think people do it. I've done it. All right? So I can't recommend or not. You know, if you can sample something first, definitely sample it. But I'm going to tell you about some successful blind buys I've had and get a little bit more into that whole idea. If it's good, if it's not good, why not? Whatever, you know, we're going to talk all about that stuff. So let's talk about it now. YouTube, what's good, man? It's your boy Darren. I am the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. We talk about fragrances primarily on this channel, but if you've been rocking with me for a while, you know that I do talk about style. I'll give you some style tips. I talk about grooming as well on this channel. So listen, being a well-rounded gentleman as it pertains to your presentation, how you look and how you smell. So if you're into that kind of content, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you enable notifications by hitting the bell icon as well. So that way, if I upload a new video on the channel, you'll get notified. So again, guys, we're going to be talking about 10 successful blind buys that I've had during the course of my fragrance journey. Now, again, like I said in the intro, I don't necessarily recommend per se blind buying fragrances, but the reality of it is that a lot of us do it. You know, one of the things that I can say is the more that you become familiar with fragrances and what you do like and what you don't like, a lot of times you can, or I can look at a note breakdown on a fragrance, and even if I don't all the way love it, I'm pretty certain I'll like it, at least based on the note breakdown. And so I won't feel like it's taking that much of a risk. Now, once we start talking about expensive fragrances, and what is expensive to me may differ to somebody else. Your mileage may vary as it relates to the cost perspective on it. But whatever you consider to be expensive, definitely try your best to sample that fragrance first before you invest into it. But again, if you know yourself and you know what notes you like and things that you don't like, and you don't have access to getting a sample or getting into a store you can actually smell it, then in some cases you do have to blind buy. But whatever the case is, whatever your reason for blind buying is, or whatever the case, what reason I had to blind buy, I do have 10 successful blind buys that I want to talk to you guys about. So if you want to see what I have on the list, you guys know the routine. Keep it locked right here. Let's get it. Yeah. Some high quality H2O today. No coffee, high quality H2O.
The Bowtie Fragrance Guy.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. We're going to jump right into this video. Now, the first fragrance that I want to talk about, I want to say this was released earlier this year, and I love the scent profile on this fragrance. It's from the brand of Manera, and this one is called Tonka Cola. Tonka Cola. This was definitely a blind buy. Sometimes, especially a fragrance like this, it's harder to smell this, especially when it first comes out. But I knew based on the note breakdown, I felt like it was going to be unique, and I was pretty certain that I was going to like it, and I do love this fragrance. And as the name indicates, what you get in here primarily is this kind of cherry cola vibe. Slightly kind of vanillic, ambery feel to this fragrance in my opinion as well. And of course you get the Tonka being in a cherry cola vibe. This is really what the fragrance is if I just simplify it, and it smells phenomenal. I got this in my collection at a time where a lot of the fragrances, especially the designer stuff that was coming out, was so redundant. This was a breath of fresh air when it came out because it's such a unique scent profile. All right, so again, Manera fragrances retail for about $185, but especially when a fragrance first comes out, if you're not in a big market, like maybe Atlanta, New York, California, somewhere like that, sometimes it's hard to get your nose on stuff first. So anyway, blind bought it, and I'm happy with my purchase from the brand of Manera. This is Tonka Cola. All right, I have always been a fan of sandalwood. I don't know if that note has slipped right outside of my top 6 notes. I always kind of keep a tally of in my mind what are my top 6 fragrance notes. This was in my top 6. It may be right outside, maybe 7th, maybe not right now, but still love the note of sandalwood. And this fragrance was discontinued, hard to get your hands on, and I have a story about it. But the fragrance that I'm talking about is the sandalwood fragrance from the brand of By Killian. This is Sacred Wood. Now, this is an old presentation. It has since been reintroduced, but I love that I have this initial presentation of this fragrance, man. It was from what's called an Asian Tales collection, if I'm not mistaken, from By Killian, and they all had this red insignia on the bottle. But this is in one of those original bottles of Sacred Wood, and again, this is primarily is cedar wood and a very, very creamy sandalwood note. All right, so this particular fragrance, that's why I tell you guys it's good to be in fragrance groups and things of that nature, because I was in a fragrance group, and I think it was the Killian fragrance group, and I had posted about Sacred Wood. Just so happened that I can't remember her name now, but she inboxed me and said that she was overseas, but she had a bottle of it. So I sent her the money for it, and I had to wait about 30 to 45 days for it to finally get to me. But I was so happy it was worth the wait to me. The thing about it, I want to, kind of, side note on this. She always would, I guess she kind of followed me on Facebook after we made this transaction, and she would always comment anytime I posted anything on Facebook about my mom, about how beautiful my mom is. So that was very, very special to me. So just kind of a memory attached to that whole process of acquiring this fragrance. So anyway, Sacred Wood from By Killian, definitely worth waiting for. Definitely in my top 3 sandalwood fragrances in my collection. And from a sentimental standpoint, it's definitely number 1. From the brand of By Killian, Sacred Wood. All right, this next fragrance, I actually got this from, don't remember, it's one of the groups as well. But anyway, I knew from the note breakdown I would love this fragrance. From the brand of Nichane, this is called Fan Your Flames. Fan Your Flames. And of course, the notes on the bottle: coconut, rum, tobacco, tonka. Some of my favorite notes. Some of my favorite notes in fragrances: tobacco. Definitely tonka bean is one of my favorite notes. Tonka bean is in my top 3. I love tonka bean and that sweetness that it adds to fragrances. And this is an amazing fragrance. All right. At the time, especially when I bought this, Nichane wasn't accessible in any stores anywhere near where I live. All right. But again, I just read the note breakdown, knew that I love tobacco fragrances, knew I love tonka. And then, of course, you throw a booziness in there with some coconut, I'm all in. And this is a dynamite fragrance. So definitely one that I'm so happy I stepped out there on faith and purchased this fragrance. It was well worth it. From the brand of Nichane, this is Fan Your Flames. All right, guys. Now, this next fragrance, I will admit there was some hype around this fragrance, and the hype helped to inspire me to buy it. And also at the time, what I felt was the ability to acquire the fragrance. It had gotten really, really scarce. But the fragrance that I'm talking about is from the brand of Issey Miyake, L'Eau de Say pour Homme. This is called Noir Ombre. Noir Ombre. Man, listen, this is a slightly smoky amber fragrance. Right? There's a little bit of a kind of vanillic sweetness to it as well. I'm sure that's coming from the amber accord, but this is a dynamite designer fragrance. There was a lot of hype surrounding this fragrance when it first came out. And when the hype started to really mount for this fragrance, it became scarce and really hard to get. And I've told this story before, guys. Sometimes when you're just scrolling on FragranceNet, go to new arrivals and just kind of see what they've gotten in that's new, because sometimes you'll find hidden gems that has been said to be discontinued on FragranceNet. And that's exactly how I acquired this bottle. I love amber. And again, because it was so scarce and hard to get, it was a no-brainer for me to go ahead and pull a trigger on it, but it was definitely worth the money. I think I may have spent, I don't remember quite now, but it was somewhere between 70 to 90 bucks, if I'm not mistaken, for this, and it is well worth the price. So if they're still out there, guys, if you like amber fragrances, this is one you may take a liking to from the brand of Issey Miyake. This is Noir Ombre. All right, guys, the next fragrance that I would consider a successful blind buy comes from the brand of Byredo, and this is Bal d'Afrique. Love this vetiver-based fragrance. Look how much I have left. I knocked out a lot of this bottle. And it was one that I had read a lot about. And there was kind of some hype at the time surrounding this fragrance as well. And again, for a while, this is in my top 10 fragrances for life. So that tells you how successful that blind buy was for me. A fragrance that I love. Vetiver, and it has this slightly sweet marigold note, which is kind of like orange blossom. So it's like this kind of, I always say about orange blossom marigold, is like a honey sweetness, man. This thing is absolutely phenomenal. This is phenomenal. This is my favorite fragrance from the brand of Byredo. So again, easily a successful blind buy for me from the brand of Byredo. This is Bal d'Afrique. All right, guys, this next fragrance is actually from a brand called Parfums, which again is a brand to me that doesn't get as much love as it deserves. But anyway, that's another topic for another time. But this is definitely one of my favorites from that brand as well. This brand, they put very high oil concentrations into their fragrances. So when you spray them, that oil residue will sit on your hand for a long time. And they actually recommend you actually rub it in slightly because it's so oily on the skin. But anyway, this is one of my favorites from the brand. This is called Sorriso. This is called Sorriso. And this fragrance has bitter orange, dark chocolate, vanilla. Those are the main accords here. Oh, this is so good. When people talk about, I would be surprised if patchouli wasn't in here. Because when people talk about a chocolatey patchouli, that's what comes to my mind when I smell this. That kind of sort of what it smells like to me. But again, that orange, bitter orange note and that dark chocolate, very prominent notes in this fragrance. It smells phenomenal. Oh, this is so good. One of my favorite gourmands in my collection now. And again, this is another brand that's not really that accessible. It's really hard. The only way you're going to smell this is if you buy a sample from a store or a site that does samples. I don't know of any stores that's anywhere in my vicinity, whether it be Atlanta, Charlotte, or anywhere, that actually carries these fragrances. So one that's hard to get your hands on without actually buying a sample. So anyway, but it was a successful blind buy for me. This one is from the brand of Parfums, and this is called Sorriso. All right, guys, this next fragrance this was easily successful blind buy for me. So good that I have this bottle as well as a smaller size bottle. This is from the brand of Chanel, their less exclusive collection. This is called Cor Mandel. This is Cor Mandel, and basically what this is a white chocolate and patchouli fragrance. This is dynamite. Every time I put this on, the missus says, "What are you wearing?" That's one of these fragrances for me. I had a smaller bottle initially, which I still do have. I've not got quite a bit of that. Then I saw a good deal on a big 200 ml bottle. The other one I think is a 50 or 75 ml. It's a 75 ml bottle. So I went ahead and got my hands on this big one. I saw a good deal on it. So anyway, Cor Mandel, white chocolate patchouli. Love this fragrance. Easily one of my most successful blind buys. All right, guys, the next fragrance that I would put in this category of successful blind buys is one from the brand of Bia The Victorious. Another brand that's not super accessible. And that usually, for me, what contributes to me blind buying a fragrance. But anyway, this one is called Alamus. This is called Alamus. Now, this is a rose oud fragrance, but what I love about it is it has this very juicy pineapple note in the opening. Had never seen that. Does give a unique element to a rose oud fragrance. I smelled hundreds of rose oud fragrances at this point in my fragrance journey, but this one is one of the best, and it's because of that juicy pineapple opening. Game changer for what I would smell typically in a rose oud kind of fragrance. So, man, if you can get your nose on this, get your nose on it at least. Find a sample. I do know several places that sample Boadicea fragrances, but they are hard to go into a brick and mortar for some people and get your nose on them. So anyway, from the brand of Boadicea Victorious, this is called Alamus. All right, guys, this next fragrance, oh man. I'm just gonna go ahead and show you the bottle. From the brand of Armani, this is from the Privé collection. This is Ombre Eccentrico. Ombre Eccentrico, and I have talked about this fragrance. Nobody else talks about it. It's kind of a spicy, gooey, gourmand fragrance. All right, that's kind of, in my opinion, centered around like these really exotic sweetness, kind of an exotic sweetness in here. It smells like, I've smelled it before. It smells like raisin bread that's baking in the oven. That's exactly what this smells like. Now it's centered around the note of amber. But you get a slightly little bit of a spiciness in here with the amber, maybe some tonka bean if I'm not mistaken, to sweeten it up even more. This is a dynamite fragrance. And again, nobody talks about this. Now, another one that's really hard to get your hands on. I tried to order it one time from Neiman Marcus, and it said it was in and it was sold out. Let's just say I'm glad I finally got my hands on it because it's in my top 10 gourmands of all time. It's that good. Successful blind buy for sure from the brand of Giorgio Armani, the Privé collection. This is Ombre Eccentrico. And last but not least, this was one of the fragrances. Well, this is probably what got my love affair started with the brand. I think it was probably my third purchase from the brand, which I love the first two, but this probably got my love affair started with this brand. From the brand of Amouage, this is Jubilation 25. Jubilation 25. And I think my initial two purchases from the brand were two of my other favorites, Lyrik Man and also Reflection Man. Loved both of those fragrances, but when I read about what Amouage was about, you know, as far as the company, to me, this is the most representative of Amouage fragrances. There's a lot going on here note-wise, but it's blended to perfection. You have blackberry in here. You have honey in here. Again, just a whole lot of stuff going on here, a little incense. But this thing is just heavenly on my skin. And again, it smells like, when I think about the brand Amouage and what they represent, kind of Middle Eastern style fragrances, this is what it is all about right here in my humble opinion. And I just did a video where I talked about the new Jubilation Man 40 that's out now, which is amazing as well. But this was easily a successful blind buy for me from the brand of Amouage. This is Jubilation 25. But that is it, guys. That is my time. Again, what are some successful blind buys that you have had, you know, in your fragrance journey? I would love to hear from you down in the comment section. And as always, I sincerely appreciate you guys' time and attention to these videos. I know you don't have to watch, but you do. And I sincerely appreciate that. And don't forget to take a few moments out to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you are sharing these out to some other folks that you think could use the information or find it entertaining. Because I'm your guy, Darian. I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.